What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Justin and you are watching That Christian Vlogger. Today we're going to be talking about prayer, miracles, why does God answer prayers, what happens when he doesn't, and all kinds of the tricky questions when it comes to prayer. But today I'm excited to introduce you to my friend Nat here.
Hey
we
guys.
we are here on our last day of the Digital Discipleships Conference, which has been absolutely amazing. And Nat here went up on stage and shared an amazing, mind-blowingly amazing story about how God answered a prayer in her life. But before we dive into that, introduce yourself a little bit. Who are you? What do you do? And what are you passionate about?
Well, yeah, my name's Natalie Nwekolo. My name is pretty long and crazy.
Why we say Nat. and you work for a really awesome organization that I'm excited that we may actually get to work together a little bit in the upcoming future. But ADRA International, what is that?
So I work for ADRA, which is the Adventist Development and Relief Agency. Basically, that means we are an agency that cares for all sorts of people in distress and poverty during disasters, but also during ongoing normal everyday life.
Yeah, so like for example, say there was like Hurricane Katrina several years back. You guys were probably part of that organization that came in and try and help people clean things up, feed, clothe, all that kind of stuff. You guys do amazing things. We'll include a link to ADRA International, ADRA Australia, wherever you are in the world, there's an ADRA nearby that you can get involved with. If you want to make a difference in the world where people are hurting, sign up with ADRA. Tell me about this story that you shared up on the stage. It blew my mind because it's just a powerful reminder of how God answers prayers. Tell me a little bit about that.
I went to university to study to be a teacher, and partway through my degree, I just had this opportunity I felt really impressed, like that I should go and volunteer. When I went to volunteer, I actually had signed up to go to Brazil to work in an orphanage, and in the morning I was praying, I was like, God, if you don't want me to go there, where do you really want me to go? And I had this opportunity, phone call in the afternoon, basically said, Brazil's out, there's going to be political problems there, your life's in danger if you go there, but we've got this other opportunity. And
good. Let's put a pause there. Okay, really great lesson we can extract from this. A lot of times when we ask God to direct our paths, we think we're going down one path, right?
Yeah.
I'm in Brazil,
yeah,
volunteering, it's going to be amazing, and then all of a sudden, boom, God flips a switch.
Absolutely. And
I think it's so important when you are serious about wanting to follow God's calling in your life that you are able to be flexible. Because a lot of times, God leads you down this one path just to get you closer to his real plan, his real goal. And I think this is absolutely crucial because so many times we ask God to lead us, and then all of a sudden, we really mean, God, lead us where I want to go.
Yeah.
But God's like, no, you wanted me to lead you, right? I'm not following you, I'm leading you. So we got to be ready to at the drop of a hat, change things and move, right?
And to listen. And that's a really big deal because, like, I had said to God, well, if you don't want me to go there, close that door and open where you want me to go.
Yeah.
And that afternoon, I get this phone call that says, Brazil's out, political problems, danger, your life's in trouble, you're not going to go there. How about PNG instead? And I'm
PNG, help me with that.
Okay, that's Papua New Guinea. It's an island at the top of Australia. Very, very diverse, 900 dialects spoken there. Beautiful, beautiful people, but also very dangerous, especially if you are a white lady.
Which if it hasn't been clear enough yet, you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
I ring my mum and dad and I say, hey, Brazil's out, got this opportunity to go to PNG as a teacher.
And they're like, great.
My mum's like, no.
They're like,
she's like, no, you are not going. And I'm like, Mom, this was an answer to prayer.
Let me back up. How old were you at this time? Like, were you young? Was this?
So
like,
I was
I don't know
20.
when you were 20. Okay,
Yeah.
so I mean, of course, you want to respect what your parents say, but then you also have this call from God. Like.
It was pretty clear cut.
I mean, it seems like it. So,
Yeah.
so she doesn't want you to go.
So I'm like, well, now what do I do?
Right.
Like, I'm at a check,
Crossroads,
mate,
yeah.
what am I gonna do, And so I rallied a group of people and I'm like, well, let's pray about it. And so I grabbed a few mates and we prayed for a week. We fasted and prayed and really said, God, well, what do you want to do? And the message just kept coming back. Go.
Papua Go.
So God is definitely saying, go, go, go. My mom is definitely saying, still no.
Go, no.
And my mom gets to the point, she is like, okay, if you go, you're going without my blessing.
Mercy.
She said, because if something happens to you, I can't live with myself if I've given you permission to go. And I had to put God first. And his call was clear. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Mom, but I have to go.
There's a lesson in that for young people as well as for parents. Yeah. For the young person, you have to focus on your priorities. Ultimately, God first, then your parents.
Yeah.
If you are a parent, it's also super important that you are also connected with God, because you might think that you know what's best for your parents, or for your children rather, but ultimately I would assume if I'm a parent, I want God's will for my child's life more than I want mine.
And I absolutely respect my mom and dad, and but we decided that it was okay, and I was going to go without the blessing, and so we put the wheels in motion. And so a few months later, packed my bags, and I was off to Papua New Guinea.
There was a conflict. There was a real big challenge. Something really terrible happened to you. What happened?
Yeah, so been there for a year. I'm literally 2 weeks away from finishing my volunteer for a year. By the way, my mum came out in the Easter holidays, so 3 months after I'd been out there, and then she saw where I was. Like, there's 6-foot fence all around the places I live. There's razor wire. There's electric fence. There's like security towers every 200 meters. And my mum's like, it's good. It's fine. She's at peace now. She's my number one supporter. She's writing me messages.
Awesome.
So 2 weeks out from returning home, and I am at work, and I'm absolutely sick. And I'm just pushing, because I'm like, all I've got left to do is the final reports.
And then you're done.
Get me out!
Yeah.
And I get back to my room, and I am burning up. I'm super, super burning up.
Like physically? Like you have a fever?
Physically burning up. I get in the cold shower and try and like cool down my temp. Freezing cold. I get out of the shower, and I collapse unconscious on the floor. And they'd given me 2 rooms, and one room I kind of used as for sleeping in, and the other room I set up as a bit of a lounge room for the girls. I was in the girls' dormitory, and I'm like out cold. And I come to, about 45 minutes later, I estimate, because it was now dark. And it was actually graduation banquet night. And so I can hear everyone getting ready, everyone's getting ready to leave. And I'm like, I'm actually stuck there. And I'm like trying to call out for help, because I know I'm in a desperate situation. But I can't move. I can't even move my mouth. I've got my eyes and my ears working, and that's it. And I know I'm dying. Like, I can feel it.
Literally, you are dying in this moment.
And so I cry out to God, and I say, God, send someone to save me. Save me. And then I became unconscious again. About 2 hours later...
Oh, God couldn't have done it any faster, huh?
2 hours later, my now husband, his cousin was my best friend there. That's how we got to know each other. She comes back to the room. She looks across in the dark and sees me in the other room, something on the floor. And she's like, just opens the fridge, she's like, nah, it's nothing. She's about to leave, and then she looks again, and God just says, get in there.
Wow.
So she comes in, she touches my body, it's burning up so badly. She rips the sheet off my bed, she throws it in the shower, wraps me up, says a prayer, and runs for help.
So who does she find? Who ends up coming?
All the singing crew. And one of them is my big Samoan mate. He's like this massive, huge dude. And they're not allowed in the dormitory, so all the girls carry me to the edge of the door. And then he just like slings me over one shoulder, and he runs to the medical center, which is not that far away. The nurse takes one look at me, and she's like, she needs urgent drip line, or she's gonna die. So we're still back at the basic clinic at the university campus, and my body has all seized up. So my body's actually in contortion. So I'm like crippled and stuck, completely jammed up. We go through into the hospital. They rush me into intensive care. Things are a little bit different from a Western hospital to a public hospital in PNG. All my mates come in with me, and they're allowed to come in. And the doctor takes one look and says, we think it's over. We think it's over, guys. She's out. And they said, can we pray? Can we pray, and can we sing for this girl? And they're like, she's our sister. We have to pray for her. They're standing around my bed in the ICU. The doctor's given me a shot, but he thinks it's done. Because usually with cerebral malaria, which is what I had, once you've hit a coma, that's it. It's very, very hard to come back out of. They stand around and they are praying. And then the craziest thing happens. It's like all the bad things I've ever watched in my life is suddenly playing like a video on fast forward in my mind. There is blood, there's guts, there's shooting, there's gore, there's all these horrible things, just boom, 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 and I can't stop it. And in amongst those things were these evil, I shudder, even I can still hear it, these evil faces leaning over me, laughing. And at that moment, my friends had already said a prayer. They were like gathered around me. They were praying for me. They started to sing Amazing Grace. And at that exact moment, I can hear. It stops the images and I can hear. I can't open my eyes, I can't move, but I can hear. And the images stop.
Wow.
And within half an hour, my eyes had opened, I was breathing properly, my temp was still up, but the doctor knew that there's hope for this girl. So they started a treatment for cerebral malaria. My friends had to duck out. I was taken into another section of ICU, and I am there for the next week. My life's still hanging in the line because my temperature is not going down and they don't know what's wrong. And in Papua New Guinea, in a public hospital, they don't have enough nurses to look after you. So I had gone to Papua New Guinea to serve. And here I am now in a hospital bed, and all my friends take it in shifts to come and look for me. They sleep on the cold floor under my bed. They are wiping my butt. They're cleaning me up. I'm vomiting uncontrollably. And it's just crazy. So I'm now in this ward where there's 4 people. And every time people from the church would come, they would sing, they would pray for me. They're like doing this incredible ministry. And there's this young boy. He was only, I think he was 14. He was in the bed opposite me. Now he had cerebral malaria as well. And he contracted it out in the village. And just before he contracted it, he had decided to become a Christian, to become actually a Seventh-day Adventist. And his mum and dad were angry. They were furious. And they cut him off. They actually excommunicated him, cut him out. There's a lot of black magic still practiced out in PNG and the islands. And he was cut off. And just a few short days after that, he gets cerebral malaria. His parents relent, and they carry him for 4 days, walking from the jungle to come try and get medical help for him. But he is in a coma. He's been there a week when I get there, and he's been in a coma and he hasn't come out, and he's got cerebral malaria. His chances are so low, like 0%.
And here he is in the same room as you.
Right. So every time people are coming to visit me, they're bringing me food, I'm like, I can't eat it. Give it to his family. They're sleeping on the floor. They've come from the village. They've got no money. I'm giving them food. They're asking me...
you haven't eaten for days at this point.
Yeah, this was over a week now. I hadn't eaten. I was vomiting anytime any food went I just couldn't eat it all.
It's a good thing you had that practice fasting before you went to Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're singing for me, and I'm like, don't just sing for me, go sing for this kid and his family, and they're praying, and anyway, it was intense. It was crazy. I'm not getting better. I'm actually getting sicker, and my temperature's going up, and people are like, what's happening? Like, we're praying, like the whole university is praying. But they hadn't told my parents. They didn't want my mom to panic because of everything that had happened leading up to me come out. So mom and dad would have been on the first flight out there, but they haven't told them. Okay? So I'm in this hospital. They want to do a lumbar punch on my back. I don't know if you know what that is. I don't know if you know what that is.
Describe it for us. It's not a fun procedure.
So this is where they get needles that are about this long, 15 of them, and they insert them into your spine, down at your lumbar, for the specific purpose of being able to pull stuff out to test if you have meningitis. So they figured that was what I had because they couldn't get my temp down.
Yeah.
So they're like, you've got cerebral malaria, but you've definitely got something else. And I'm like,
Man.
you can't do this here. Like, I've got scoliosis. You put one needle in the wrong spot, I'm going to be a
Paralyzed.
quadriplegic
Yeah.
for the rest of my life. And so I'm like, okay, no. And so they organized to get me evacuated. It was going to cost 40 grand to be evacuated in a helicopter back to Australia. I have 40 grand.
I mean, you're like volunteering. You got like $0 at this point, right?
Yeah, $0. Yeah, and then we get this news that insurance is going to cover 30 grand, and I just have to pay 10 grand. I'm like, I'm a student. I still don't have money.
Just 10 grand.
I'm like, this is ridiculous. But I didn't even know all of this. This was all done by my friends behind the scenes because I'm not in any condition to do this. Someone who was there to do the graduation ceremony for the students goes, I'm going to pay that money. I don't care. Get that kid back. So I have this helicopter ride organized for the following day. I'm going to be evacuated back to Australia. I'm going to have proper medical care. I'm going to get this lumbar punch done.
Seems like everything's perfect now, right? It's all heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
But God had something even better.
Absolutely.
In mind.
Absolutely.
Tell us.
So the night before I'm going to be evacuated, a bunch of my lay friends who are lay pastors and involved in prayer ministry, they break out of the PAU wall to come in to pray for me. And they come in and the pastor's like standing beside my bed and he's like, Nat, if you don't believe in what we're going to pray, God can't move. You have to have unwavering faith. You have to not doubt. And I'm like, what? Like, this is ridiculous. So anyway, I'm just listening, taking it all in. 10 minutes later, he's going, okay, I'm going to pray for you now. And I'm like, okay, God, help me believe, you know? He prays, they leave, and it becomes the worst night of my life. My temperature soared well into the high 40s. Normal temperatures are 37, if that helps.
Okay.
They kept trying to put drips in my veins to just keep me alive because I'm burning up, literally burning up. I can feel my brain on fire. And every time they put a drip in, it ruptures and they have to change the sheets. I'm vomiting uncontrollably, but I haven't eaten in a week. And so I'm like feeling awful. And then the demonic stuff came back and the laughing faces. And the only time that stopped was when my best friend, who's there looking after me in the hospital, the cousin of my husband, she is either reading the Bible or she's praying or she's singing. That's the only time the demonic stuff stopped. And I can't explain just how close I felt to death, but it was pretty close. It was, but in the wee hours of the morning, early hours of the morning, the fever broke. It was gone completely. The following day, I walked out of hospital. You
were in the bed for a whole week, no eating, vomiting, everything, and in one evening,
gone.
Wow.
So they pulled me out of that room. They put me in another room to monitor me for a day, but I was totally okay. And then I was out, discharged the following day. So I wanted to go back to my friend, right? The young 14-year-old who's in the hospital bed, had been opposite me. Okay, so I'm like, I can't just leave them. I have to go back. I have to say a prayer for them or something like that. I go back then and I ask them, can I pray for their son? And they tell me the story about him being, coming to an Adventist, how they didn't like it, you know, the whole background. Yeah. Okay, you can pray for our son.
Fine, we'll let you.
Okay. So I pray for them, we leave. I ask them, do they need anything before I go? They say, can we get a Bible in Pidgin? These are parents who previously had been like, we don't want anything to do with
nothing
this
with
guy.
Christianity, nothing.
Out. And I leave, and the next week, I'm on a plane back home. I ring back a few days after I get home to check how this boy is going. Mm-hmm. And they said, Nat, we've got them the Bible, but you wouldn't believe it. He didn't make it.
Oh, no.
The day after you left, he died.
Oh, no.
And I'm just like, oh, man, God, like, where are you? Mm-hmm. Like, why did I get an answer to prayer and he didn't?
And honestly, like this, I mean, okay, so I'm happy you're alive. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. But like right there in that story is really the biggest challenge with prayer. Because as Christians, we hear stories all the time of God coming through and working miracles and healing and all, great.
Yeah.
I believe that does happen.
Absolutely.
But I also believe that the flip side is true. That, how many of us have ever experienced something that we pray in faith and we believe and we do but then it seems as if God said no, or God ignored it, or what?
Yeah. And that was a really tough day for me. And then the pastor went on to tell me, but his family want to come to church. And this is where, in each situation that has arisen in my life, where I'm praying and I'm asking for God's help and there's no answer, or it's deaf and there's no response and there doesn't seem to be any help coming, my response now is I have to take a step back, because God sees the bigger picture. He is always there. He will never leave your side. In those moments when the answer doesn't seem to be coming, he is still there. But he has got a greater purpose that we can't see. And that's the only way I can rationale when you pray with all your heart, so fervently. I know you guys do that. You pray for things that are troubling you. And the question is, where is God in that? The question is, God is always there. He's always there. And he is ready and waiting to help you. Keep praying. I said to someone once recently who had been praying for a friend who had cancer, and that friend died. I said, we will never know what those prayers effectuated. We just don't know. So keep praying in faith, because it allows God to do things that we can't see.
I think that's a really great place to leave that, because I don't think there's a clean and neat and perfect answer.
No, there's not.
I mean, clearly there isn't. Reality would show us that isn't the case.
Yeah.
There are times God moves and answers dramatically, as he did in your life, and we're grateful for those moments. And there are times where it doesn't, and it's really challenging. It's really, really, really difficult, especially in those moments when there's silence.
Yeah.
It reminds me of when Jesus was on the cross. Jesus here, he's going through the most terrible experience. It's literally excruciating.
Absolutely.
And Jesus calls out sincerely, right? And if you think anyone's prayers would be answered in the positive, it would be Jesus, because it's literally
his son.
Yeah, right?
Come on.
My God, why have you forsaken me?
Yeah.
But the Bible doesn't record that Jesus ever received an answer to prayer. And I think that's amazing, because there are moments like that in our life. Yeah. But what we do see with Jesus is that actually, even though Jesus might have felt that God had separated himself from him, he didn't. No. He was still there at the cross. And even when Jesus felt like God had abandoned him, God was there. God was right there in that moment, feeling the very same pain that Jesus was feeling.
Absolutely.
And the great news is that even in death, even in the worst case scenario, the story actually isn't over. Because just a few days later, God comes through and raises him from the dead.
Yeah.
And so listen, I don't know what you're going through right now. And, I don't even know what the plan is. Maybe God will answer that prayer, maybe he won't. But I do want to say this, that even if you feel like the answer is silence, I want you to know that God is still there. And that he does care. He has not abandoned you. And even though that you might feel that way, I want you to know that feeling is a lie.
Yeah.
God is there. The Bible's promise, God has promised us through the scriptures that he will never leave us or forsake us. There isn't any clean, neat, perfect answer, because life doesn't work like that. But even in those moments where we don't understand, we can trust God. And I want to encourage you to do so. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. I hope that this story was as inspiring to you as it was for me. And I'm interested in hearing what you guys have to say. Let us know in the comments below what your thoughts are about this story, what your experiences are when it comes to prayer and God answering it and God maybe not answering it, and how that impacts your faith on a day-to-day level. So with that said, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. As I like to say, until our next video, I'm That Christian Vlogger, and I want to encourage you to experience faith in the first person. God bless.
You.